good, and our execution late. Thought we went through a dry spell in the third quarter where we missed some shots, had a few turnovers, and they cut into the lead, but we got the lead back, and our execution on both ends of the floor let us down in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, energy's been fine. That's not the issue. It's just in the games. We played good for 3 quarters, but that fourth quarter is when games matter the most. So we just got to close out going forward.
Welcome in, Hawks fans. It's your boy Brussels back at it again for another Bleav in Hawks pod. And tough loss tonight, guys. Tough loss tonight to the Kings, man. We have a lot to talk about in terms of what happened. Again, a sense of the issues that have plagued this team continue to plague this team, even with Jalen Johnson back. And we're getting to that point, man, where we're gonna have I know people have been saying it, kind of mentioning it, but you're gonna have to start having some uncomfortable conversations, and start kind of looking at what now. I said tonight on Twitter that this is the kind of game that makes you have players only meetings. This is the kind of game that makes you have to look in the mirror. This is the kind of game that you really have to reflect and kind of look at, okay, this is where we are in the season. This is our record. This is what we have coming up. What is the direction of this team? You are now 7 games under 500. And you have the Wizards coming up, so you're not playing, a world beater coming up. But right now, the way you're playing it's not good basketball, especially in the fourth quarter. It's just not good. It's not good basketball. So we're just gonna go ahead and dive into that right now, guys. The Hawks started this game tonight 31-8 out the gate, aggressive defensively, getting turnovers, making shots, on fire. Look great. That's the kind of start to a game that can give you the vibe of, oh yeah, this may be a night that we, dominate or just pretty much control the game. That changed quickly, and that's been a theme of this season for this team. The Hawks have done this multiple times, and I've discussed this before. They will get out to these leads and then blow the lead so quickly. Now, the thing is, the lead was so big that you probably weren't going to blow a nearly, 30, like was it a 24, 22, 3-point lead early. You probably weren't going to blow that so fast. But as soon as that run happened, basically by the end of the quarter, Kings had cut it down to 12. So you went from 20 to 12, which can happen. But it was the speed, it's the quickness. I've talked about it. It's how fast the Hawks sometimes blow these leads, or sometimes get these leads produced. It's so fast. It's not you get a big lead and then it's kind of a back and forth affair, kind of trying to extend the lead or hang on to that lead, and the team's trying to cut into the lead. They make a run, you make a run. It's never that. It's not that like you're slowly getting into the lead as the game goes on, and it's about, can they make that last push, or can the team who has the lead hang on? It's you have a lead and then you just lose it, and there's not much resistance. And that's what happened in the first. Now, they still had a double-digit lead. In the second, and listen, they won both quarters in the first half. So, second half, they ended the half great. They have been a terrible finishing team in quarters. In the second quarter, they finished great. They got turnovers. They got back to what got them that lead early. They were able to create turnovers. Jalen Johnson hit some big shots, was found in some fast break opportunities, and they were back up to like 18 points by the end of or 17 points by halftime. So you're like, okay. It looks like they're holding steady. Here's a stat. The Hawks in the second half only scored 20 and 19 points in the third and fourth quarter. Think about that. For a team that is known for their offense, for a team that is top 5 in offense, to only score a total of 39 points in the second half is unacceptable. And I said this too tonight. I said the Hawks are the most unlucky offensive team I've ever seen in my years watching basketball. Because when they need to make shots, they don't. If it's just like in the middle of a random quarter, the start of a quarter, things like that, they'll make some shots, they'll make a run, whatever. But when it's like we need baskets, they literally have a lid on the rim. They could not make a basket, or they struggle to make baskets to save their life. And tonight was a prime example. The final 4 minutes of the game, I don't have the exact time, but I know it was over 4 minutes. The Hawks offense in that fourth quarter did not score one field goal. They were stuck at 110, I swear, for like the last 4 minutes of the game. Defensively, I have said this. I don't feel like they've played that bad defensively. Like literally, like they had the Kings to 90 points I think the Kings were still in the 90s at the start of the fourth quarter. And I think the Hawks were in the hundreds. And then you end up losing that game. Like if you don't score the last 4 minutes of a game, unless you have a 30-point lead, you probably will lose that game, regardless of how good your defense is. And I think that in and of itself, DeJounte, again, he's had this theme of he'll play really good in the first half, make shots in the first half, and then the second half, it's like this man cannot knock down a single bucket. This man was not good in the second half today. And again, it's one of those things where it's like why are you off? What is happening? What is it? Why are you playing well to start games in first halves, but not able to continue that going into the second? Like, what is causing that? Trey tonight, he had that string of 30-10 games, but he had a decent game tonight. It obviously wasn't 30-10, but even him, like, again, sometimes his shot selection, those long threes, are sometimes questionable because it's like, listen, I get you can make it, Trey, but try to get a better opportunity if you can. And Bogey too. I mean, Bogey's had some games where as the game goes on and the game gets later, the threes that he was knocking down with regularity are now becoming bricks. And he's having a hard time making shots late. And it's like everybody's having a hard time making shots late. Bey has been just offensively, especially from three, has not been great in these last few games. For a stretch of games, really, he hasn't been great. And Jalen, first half kind of played like a guy who hasn't played basketball in a while. So like I said, at the end of that second quarter, seemed to heat up a little bit. He had some good moments that he was great on the boards. Hawks won the rebounding battle tonight against one of the best rebounding teams in the league. Jalen was a big part of that. Jalen tonight had 16 and 15. So you're looking at that like, okay, he did his work. Capella 12 and 12. Front line combined had 34 rebounds. You got what you needed from those guys and a team that you knew that was going to rebound, but just wasn't enough. And then, like I said, with Bogey tonight, he only had 12 points in this game. Usually, if you can get 12 points from a bench guy, that's great, but it was on 4-14 shooting, 2 of 10 for 3. He was not the Bogdanovich that we have seen tonight. And that was the issue. And I said this too. I said, the Hawks are getting good looks. The Hawks were getting good looks all game. The Kings were not making it difficult for the Hawks. Like, that's the thing. Usually in some of these games, it just seems like sometimes the Hawks just the team adjusts to the Hawks and they just make things difficult for the offense. So then it makes it harder for the Hawks to make shots. I felt like tonight the Kings did not make it that difficult. The Hawks just literally missed shots. The Hawks, especially in that fourth quarter. The Hawks have not been a good fourth quarter team all year. And it's the strangest thing because they did what they did again tonight. They got up 11. The lead was cut down. Hawks was able to get it back to 11. They hit some big threes and then blew the lead immediately within 2 minutes. And that to me is just insane to think about, because it's like, why are you as a team have good stretches and then all of a sudden now it's like you can't do anything? It's like this team, like I said, is just unlucky when it comes to needing baskets when they need to, and maintaining leads. And like I said, you had Garrison, Matthews, and Patty Mills play tonight. They gave you 6 points. I mean, like I've said before, if DeAndre Hunter played tonight, even if he gave you 14 points tonight, he's going to be making up for those two guys. You're still having 8 more points than you would usually get, which would have been the difference in this game. Like, I'm basically telling you, DeAndre just got to hit his season average. He ain't even got to be great. Hey, we win this game. Because I've said, you lose one of the wings, now the team can't win. You lose Clint Capella, now you can't defend at the rim. Now you're giving up baskets all over the place in the paint. The Hawks are just a team that is constructed where if you lose one guy, now all of a sudden, whatever that guy brings, you don't have anymore. You're struggling to be able to do now. And I think that is a sign of roster construction to me. That you have that. Now, obviously, right now, I think a lot of people are looking at what the Hawks need to do on that end of things. Obviously, Kobe Buffkin, want to give him some love from the Skyhawks, had a really, really, really good game in his debut a couple of days ago. I think he had 31. I could be wrong. I think he had 31 points in that game. 31 or 34. And he played great. And I think a lot of people came out of that game thinking, listen, why not give him some run? I'd rather him play than Patty Mills. Like why not? It's not like they've got like Garrison and them are playing so well that the rookies don't deserve to play. Obviously, that's why I said I hate it for Seth that he injured his ankle. Now that he finally got some playing time, because now, I don't know if they're going to put him back in once he gets back from the ankle. People are wanting Kobe to play. Like give him a shot. Just give him a chance. And like I said, it sucks that Mohamed Gay's hurt because, we don't know if he would be involved in the rotation if he was healthy. So it's one of those things where the Hawks have just been so unlucky in fourth quarters and bad in fourth quarters, and that's just what ultimately is beating this team. That is just what ultimately is keeping this team from being able to get on winning streaks and for them to be able to be a more competitive team. The analytics say that Hawks are supposed to be I don't want to say upper echelon team. They're supposed to be a much better team than what their record says. I'll say that. They should be able to compete with a lot of the tier 2 teams at least and be up in that tier. Like, it always feels like the Hawks should be better. Like that, I think that's ultimately the big thing too, is it feels like the Hawks should be better than what they are. They should be have a better record. They should have better, but why aren't they? What is the core reason why they're not better than what they are? What is holding this team back so much? People have pointed it out. Cleveland has injuries and they're still winning. Miami has had injuries and they're still winning. So why is it so difficult for us to have a couple of injuries and now we can't win? We can't win games. Why is it that this team just can't do certain things now when it gets down to the fourth quarter? Because one thing about fourth quarter play, especially with the team struggling that they have, is it mental? Is it something that's affecting you mentally? Is that something that is coming into your head? It's the fourth quarter. We're just hanging on. We're just trying to hang on. Because I feel like sometimes in the fourth quarter, Quinn has always wanted to play a more decisive, quick decision, be aggressive, believe and confident in what you're doing when you do it type of coach. And in the fourth quarter, I felt like, especially in those final possessions, I felt like there was too much passing at times. I felt like there were times where there wasn't conviction. It felt like it was just like somebody's, like I felt like there were some guys who could have took open shots and pass them up to try to pass. And I'm like, guys, like, no, take the shot. Like, I'd rather you take that shot than trying to make the extra pass, because the Kings were being able to recover defensively and rotate. And so now you're getting to the end of the shot clock, and now you're not getting as high of a quality of a shot that you maybe could have taken earlier in the possession. So, I think that in and of itself has been tough to see, and it's been something you observe when watching this team. And that ultimately is what makes it difficult for this team to be successful, because sometimes too, the Hawks really don't put a lot of pressure on the rim when it comes offensively, outside of DeJounte at times, and he doesn't do it consistently, but he does it, I would think, more. Bay puts pressure on the rims at times, but I feel like as the game goes on, those moments they want Bay to be more of a three-point shooter. And so I think what happens is it feels like the Hawks are just taking a lot of jump shots late in these games. And the thing is that, you can live and die by the jump shot. Obviously, Quinn's philosophy in general is to put up a lot of threes, of course. But it feels like you got to break defense down to create good looks. And because that's what other teams do. They break the Hawks down defensively. They get into the paint. They put in pressure because the Hawks have issues trying to keep guys out of the middle of the paint, or out in the middle of the court, and also just have a hard time on the perimeter containing guys. So they get into the middle of the paint. That makes the Hawks collapse. Now the Hawks are scrambling to rotate, and they're able to get that alley or that easy dunk that's a bonus, or get Malik or De'Aaron Fox off a three. That one three that De'Aaron Fox had that took the lead initially, where DeJounte was so late on the rotation, is what I'm talking about. That's one of the big issues that it seems to happen, is that the Hawks guards overplay a lot. So you're able to get a lot of back cuts against them and a lot of things like that. And that creates easy opportunities for the opposing team to get back into the game, because they know we can do things to get easy baskets and actually execute against this team consistently. The Hawks sometimes do things that can get them good baskets, but then a lot of it is predicated on the jump shot. So then the problem is that if the jump shot isn't falling, now it's like, oh, snap, what are we going to do? That's why sometimes I've also kind of been like, maybe we should consider using Jalen Johnson more in those situations, and just maybe playing some two-man with Jalen and Trey, or Jalen and DeJounte. I think that's something that the Hawks should explore more in fourth quarter situations, because Jalen is a guy who can hit a three. Obviously I know Quinn isn't the biggest mid-range guy, but I think, Jalen, I feel like Jalen should be able to be willing. You should trust him to take mid-ranges. Or, like I said, he's a guy. He's super athletic. He can explode towards the rim. Get him some more alley-oop situations. I think he should be more involved in alley-oop action. We use a lot of Capella and a Kongu in the action. Why don't we use Jalen more in that action? Get him some easy shots, some easy points in the game, like we do for them. So that's something that maybe could mitigate some of the offensive pressure, instead of this, let's spread the floor, let Trey just attack, and then just kind of see where things go. To me, I'm just like, it's something that I always said during the Eastern Conference Finals run. They utilized really, really well. They utilized John Collins really, really well in the two-man pick and roll action, because then they were able to, especially in the Spain pick and roll, because then they were able to, even though John was able to kind of keep the defender honest, because he was a three-level scorer, he could hit a three, he could hit the mid-range, or he could go drive to the paint, and we know he could dunk. So I was like, okay, well, let's utilize Jalen that same way right now. Maybe that is something that you can explore, just to maybe help get better shots. And then also, like I said, get Jalen more involved, because, like I said, he is one of your best three players. And so you should treat him as such, especially in clutch situations. He's not a guy who you should not give shot attempts to late in those games. I think people would actually gladly want to see Jalen Johnson take more shots in those situations. So those are just potential small solutions, I guess, or small things that you can at least try and see what that looks like. Because, like I said, losing a game like this to the Kings is tough. It's tough. Because it's just one of those games that's just like, you had the game in your hands and then you lost it. And it feels like it's just a rinse and repeat now Bulls, you had the game in your hands and you lost it. The Heat, you had the game in your hands and you lost it. Just multiple games this season. You have the game in your hands and you lose it. Blowing leads. Like it's just consistent across the board. Quinn made a statement after the game last game talking about they didn't value every possession. And it was one of the few times that I feel like Quinn Snyder really was just like, we just as a team did not have the right mindset, did not have the right grit, the right mental for this game to win this game. And to me, that spoke volumes. Because Quinn usually in press conferences, he'll sometimes just say they made shots. We didn't make shots. They did this. They did that. We didn't do this. We just got to be better. But that was the first time he actually questioned a non-basketball actually on the court. Like, it's on the court, but like, to me, when you say we're not valuing possessions, that's a mindset. That's a mental part of the game to me. And so I wonder if, they came out early, they came out hot, came out like a team that had a fire lit under them. And then you just, and then even when the Kings kind of made a run, they were able to get the run back up. And then it's like, okay, they seem like they're able to kind of stay in control of this game. And then that fourth quarter happens, you get up 11, and then you fall apart. And then you can't hit a shot. It's just one of those things like what happens to the team? Why does the way they play change down the stretch? Why is it different than what it was when they were playing really well? Because Quinn has made that comment multiple times as well. We will do what we need to be doing or what I want them to do, and then we'll just stop doing it. He's made that comment since last year. And so to me, it makes it sound like the players just, when certain situations arise, they just start to play differently. And that's the thing, is they need to try. Because like when they went on that winning streak, when they went on that winning streak, when they went 0-2, if you remember a lot of those games, the Hawks played really, one of the best things they were doing was playing well down the stretch. And then one of the games that stands out to me is that Pelicans game. DeJounte and Trey were playing great off of each other. Great looks, made shots, just really solid, sound basketball down the stretch of that game. And there, like I said, DeJounte had very just really good possessions. The team had really strong possessions when they came back against Minnesota. They did the stuff that I think Quinn wanted them to do during that winning streak. And then ever since that winning streak, it's like it's been just so hard for them to get back to that. And play like that the whole game or in important stretches. Now it feels like it's not the same. Is it buy-in? Obviously I know with the trade rumors, especially with DeJounte's trade rumors, some people are wondering, is DeJounte still locked in? Is DeJounte still invested? Is that why he's been such a roller coaster? Because when you're kind of not 100% committed, you're going to have moments where, you're a baller, you're a competitor, you're going to play, you love playing basketball, but there will be times where maybe you don't show up in certain situations. I'm not saying you're sabotaging, so don't get me wrong, but I'm saying that it's just your play becomes uneven, in that situation. It's one of those things that you just wonder, like, what is going on? Like I said, this is the type of game that would create player-only situations. We don't even know if the Hawks have already had a meeting already. With Jeff Schultz retiring from the Athletic, he was the guy who, would usually formulate stuff like this. And, at some point in the season would release an article. This is what's going on with the Hawks right now. He released something, I think, about a month ago, but, that's usually like how things go. And now he's retiring, so I don't know if he's necessarily. I'm assuming he's done or he's about to be done. So who's going to be the person to leak an article this year about what's happening in the Hawks locker room? Even though nothing negative has came out so far, it's just something maybe isn't meshing. And I said this in my last episode too. I said the Hawks front office don't need to wait to make a move. You need to make a move in January. You need to make something happen because you're entering a point where now that you're 7 games under 500, if you continue to lose and you hit 10 games under 500, you're going to have that decision. What do we do? Do we tank? Do we start just trying to get into a lottery? The draft apparently is not that great this year. So it's not like you're tanking for anybody super duper fantastic this year. So it's not like this draft is that type of class to tank for. So do you tank? Do you do a mini reset? But the thing is, I always say, if you try to reset or restart or any of that, the question is, what does that mean for Trae Young? What is that conversation like with Trae Young? Trae Young wants to win. He wants to, I always say, he wants to be able to try to compete. Luckily, you're in the Eastern Conference, so the Hawks will never probably be out of potentially getting a play-in spot because it looks like that's where it'll end up unless they make a run later this season, but they're not out of getting a play-in spot. But, can you go to Trae Young and say, hey, this season's a wash. We're going to go in a different direction. Can you do that? I don't know. DeJounte, like I said, potentially on the trade market. DeAndre, we've already heard, potentially on the trade market. Capella as well. There are some tough questions and tough decisions that are going to have to be made. So we're going to have to see what those decisions are. Because right now the Hawks are one of the worst fourth quarter teams in the league, and you're not able to make shots, and you don't know if it's mental, and it's just there's a lot of things to unpack from that. So we're gonna have to see what that is. They play, like I said, they play the Wizards next. Team they've beat twice this season. Wizards are not a good team this year, so you would hope, the Hawks come out and win that game and snap this 4-game losing streak. Because if you lose to the Wizards, I mean, it feels like you keep hitting new lows with how things have gone this season, but that would be that is a if the Hawks lose to the Wizards, that's a confidence breaker. That's a roster destroyer. That's a you're walking into the locker room and like I need to leave or people need to leave if you're certain players. So the Hawks have some interesting decisions to make. But right now they're just trying to fight through adversity and try to figure out what's going on and be able to start winning again. So tough loss tonight, man. Like I said, blowing in the fourth quarter, not scoring a basket in the final 4 minutes of the game. It's just killer. Absolutely killer for this team. The Kings finishing. I don't know what the run was to finish the game, but I know I think it was almost a 30 to 5, 30 to 8 run. So that's just one of those times where you just not good. It's just not good. So we'll see. We'll see what happens Sunday against the Washington Wizards, like I said, and we'll hope for the best. Hopefully Hawks will turn around and get a W, man. So we'll stay tuned. For some of y'all that don't want to watch the games anymore, don't worry. This is why the Bleav in the Hawks podcast is here. I'll watch the games for you. I'll give you feedback on what happened, and we'll talk about it. And then y'all can give me your thoughts on it after the fact as well. So that's all I got for you guys. You Bleav in the Hawks podcast. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Bryce_2K. Also, don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, like the video, or if you're listening to audio, leave a rating or a review. Show your boys some love. on the pod. It's your boy Bryce Lewis. See you next time.